We have a new microphone. It's still a hand sunny bottle, but it's bigger, you know. We're upgrading every single video. But ooh, let me get myself together. Jesus. Got the stomach out. Got the rolls showing. Girl, come on. This is about the Bible. Have some decorum. So I decided for this video, I'm not going to edit as much as I usually do because I just want this to be a very straightforward video, because what I've learned from reading the Bible from beginning to end and just like listening to other people talk about their walk with God, it's really all about your heart posture. You can do anything in this world. You can say that God's in it. You can say that I did this because the Spirit told me. But if your heart posture is in the wrong place, baby, God won't there. And if he was there, he's not going to be pleased with how you showed up, because the way that you showed up, baby, was the devil himself. I'm just joking. But I decided to read the Bible because I was inspired by a podcast that no longer exists called Know For Sure. It was B. Simone and Megan Ashley. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. It's gone. I don't even think they even have the videos even up to even be able to watch. But to make a long story short, I continue to follow Megan Ashley even after that podcast went away. Megan Ashley has a new podcast called In Totality, and it's one of the few podcasts that I watch ritually. Is ritually a word? That I watch weekly. Let's just say that, just in case that's not a word. Megan Ashley said something that shook me to my core. It was two big reasons why I decided to read the Bible. One, if you played my last video from last week, and if you haven't, what's really happening, but if you haven't, I read Sacred Woman. Sacred Woman was a dang textbook, okay? When I tell you I think the book was around like 400 500 pages, I'll put the exact amount on the screen, but it was a textbook. And I remember when I read the book, and after I finished reading the book, I said, if you can read this, you can read the Bible. Because the Bible, it may not be, actually the Bible may be longer, because I was like, if you can do this, Sacred Woman was slight work. You doing this is big work, not just because of the amount of pages, but the amount of information in the way that's going to help me as I grow as a Christian. So read the Bible, and Megan Ashley, like I said, going back to the big reasons why, was Megan Ashley said something that shook me to my core. She said the Bible is like the manual for humans. And it really struck me because when I got my car, the car that I'm sitting in right now, my grandpa told me, read the car manual. Have I? No. It's in the back seat. But I now understood what he meant. When you read a manual, it's not because, you want to just be like a know-it-all. It's because you did not design that car. Therefore, you don't know all the things that it's able to do. I'm outside, so if it's a little bit loud, it's like, what's even happening? But that's okay, because God created all these things that we have, so we're gonna just allow them to be present in this video. But she was basically like, the Bible is our manual. That is your blueprint to how to live your life. And everybody says, well, I'm not going to listen to that because it's man-made, or we don't really know if that was how God wanted it interpreted. I feel like God will speak to you. He will tell you what he means. And by that is, I read the book of James, which also was recommended to me by Megan Ashley. I read the book of James. When I tell you, God gave me the most scariest, profound dream I've ever had ever in my life. To this day, I can see that dream. Like, as I'm speaking to you, I can see the visuals of what God poured into me. And to me, that was my first time I've ever seen that when God allows you onto this journey, not allows you, but when you finally allow yourself onto the journey of getting to know God better, he'll present you with messages to help you to understand what he wrote. And that dream went directly with everything I read and what I was going to continue to read. The book of James, like 5 chapters. It's one of my favorite books. And it's so funny because if you're from Richmond, Virginia, it's a hood called Gilpin Court. Gilpin Court, all the streets are biblical. St. James, St. John, St. Peter. I think it's a St. Luke. I could be wrong, but just know it's the saints, okay? And it's so funny because my grandma lived on St. James, and James is one of my favorite books of the Bible. I feel like it's a beautiful read. It's a quick read, less than an hour. You can take notes on it and read it over and over again. I promise you, you'll get something different. And I feel like the biggest thing I took from reading the Bible was take your time. So I did end up getting this book to help me to read along. I got it from Five Below. It's not even Five Below, it's 5.55. But I got this book for 5.55, and it basically was a way to stay disciplined. So it's based on 52 weeks. Each week you have a certain amount of scriptures that you read, certain amount of chapters that you read, and there's a theme. So each week you have a theme. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put my little microphone down. Each week you have a theme. So let's do week 7. This week's theme was prosper and be happy. You also have a little text that goes along with the theme, and then you'll have questions that you can answer after you read the book, or you can do it before you read the books that are presented in that week. I did mine, I believe, after, but every here and then I would get really excited and I would go ahead and answer and then go back and see if I would change my answers. This book is a gem. I put other people onto it, and I think that it's worth the money. I only paid $5, $5.55, because it's not Five Below. $5.55. But I read it in 52 weeks, basically. Like, I honestly got so excited. I think I may have finished before. I started in February 2024, and I finished this year, February 2025, maybe even January. And what I got from reading the Bible was, it's one of them things, even when you read it all the way through, everybody interprets the Bible differently. Like, I feel like for me, I'm a little bit goofy, maybe even a little bit ratchet. I had to make certain stories correlate to me. Like, I had to make it understandable for me. So a prime example, let's talk about Samson and Delilah. If you don't know the story, Delilah was Samson's, honestly, his enemy. He believed that, I don't know if he believed it, but he allowed Delilah to put him in a place where he wasn't in discernment with God. And with that being said, he was in a predicament that jeopardized not only himself, but the ability that God gave him. And I felt like when I read that, I had to tell myself, like, these little no good men that you be dealing with, well, not no more, no good men that you were dealing with, that were distracting you from the purpose or the confidence or whatever God had for you, that was your Delilah. So when I read the Bible, I had to make it fun because it's a big book. And I hate to say it, it's not a boring book, but it's one of those books where if you're not disciplined, those chapters where it's difficult to read because it's not as exciting, you're going to fall. So with that being said, a big thing that I really kept is I found this creator. Her name is Lauren Anita. I'm gonna put her name on the screen, and she had basically steps of how to prepare yourself to read your Bible. And the biggest step was to pray, to ask for the Holy Spirit to help you with discernment, to help you to be able to understand, not only to understand but be able to apply. She had ways to, make sure you set the environment, having a place where you don't have a lot of distractions, where you're really able to be with God. And especially after you finish reading, to pray out, to make sure that whatever you took in, that you carry that out into the world, not only for that day but so on and so on. And also realizing that just because you read it that day doesn't mean it'll correlate that day. I have read books of the Bible now, I can say a year ago, and it hits me that, oh, that was what God meant. I had a situation, and I'm gonna end this video with this, where I read this Bible verse, and for the life of me, I could not understand why it stood out to me so bad. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the screen. And The Bible verse basically was about when you walk with God. This was my, what am I trying to say? This was my interpretation of the verse. When you walk with God, even those who don't walk with God, they're going to be okay because they're with you. I had a life or death situation. And in the moment, I realized that I have to call upon God. When they say be still and let God work, it really means that. To be still. Don't do anything. Talk to him. Walk with him. And he'll guide you. And I really felt like in that moment, the most logical thing to do would have been to react in a way of being scared, being fearful. And while I may have been fearful, I knew that I'm not walking this alone. Not only do I know who I am in this situation, I know whose I am in this situation. And the person that I was with, me and that person are able, I feel like, are able to speak on our existence still being here on this earth, because that prayer that I said in my head, and knowing that God has me. And I don't know if he said his prayers, we never really discussed it, but I know that Bible verse was very big on my heart. And after that situation happened, it was the same Bible verse that popped into my head after that encounter of almost not being here. So if I could tell anybody who's about to read the Bible, if you take a course, or if you are like me and you get one of these books that guide you for 52 weeks, make sure that you still take your time. Okay, I know it says 52 weeks, but if you take 100, even 1,000 weeks, the whole purpose is to get closer to God. There's no purpose in you rushing through the Bible just to say that you finished it. The purpose is to say that you had quality over quantity, that you understood what you read, that you took your time. And I don't have my book right now with me. Let me go get it. Hold on real quick. I'm acting like it's not in the car. Like, it's not on me. I believe I got my Bible from Barnes & Noble, but no, I got it from a Bible shop, and the girl actually gave me a discount. Shout out to her. I don't know what she's supposed to do that, so I'm not going to say the store, but God will bless you. This is my Bible. I thought it was so cute, a very simple cover. And then also in my Bible, if I want to, I can take notes on the side. If I ever read something and I feel like I just want to just talk about it, I can write it on the side. Also, it has a cute attached bookmark, so you can just like that, like so. Oh, I sound like Tabitha Brown. You can tell I watch Tabitha, because Tabitha says like that, like so. And you know where you stop that. I've heard a lot of people say to get a study Bible. I've heard that Tony Evans is a really good study Bible. I don't know, I'm just telling you what I heard. But no matter if it's physical Bible, I would say get a physical Bible, because when I first started reading, I was reading on my phone. I still use the Bible app. The Bible app is a very dope app, especially because it has plans that you can follow that help you to not only read the chapters, but have other people talk about what the chapter meant for them and have better interpretation. Because sometimes we read the Bible and it's like, I didn't get what you just said, but I can see how you got that from what it said too. And lastly, let me tell you something. I'm a church girl, okay? I am a church girl. I may not go in person all the time. I may just go on YouTube, because my church does post on YouTube, so I can watch it virtually as I work. But you can take the girl out the church. You can't take the church out the girl, baby. And what I realized, and this may sound like, duh, the church is literally just interpreting the Bible. And everybody's interpretation may sound different, but the whole purpose is for it to be biblical based. That's the whole purpose. And I think the biggest thing that I'm going to end with, and it may be an unpopular opinion, but it may be controversial. People love to read one verse and not read the rest of the verse. So there's a part of the Bible, of course, we all know the 10 Commandments. Honor thy mother, honor thy father. And yes, that is what God said. God also said in Ephesians for the parents to not provoke their children. There's always more when you keep reading, okay? So sometimes what you read in the Old Testament is important, But God never changes what he says, but he also is going to add to it and help you to understand that yes, this is part of it, but there also are other parts that I need you to know as well. So when you read the Bible from beginning to end, you get the full story. You get the full experience. You don't just get half of it. You don't just get what you want to hear. You get what you need to hear in all capacities, whether it's parenting, whether it's marriage, whether it's sex. You get all of the things. I still read the Bible, not as hard as I was when I was reading it for a year, but I've learned to reread certain chapters and just take my time. I reread the book of Job. I did 10 minutes, I believe, every single day, and I literally feel like I'm in my Job season because my body is hurting, and I feel like Job, like I'm fighting for my life. But even when I'm fighting for my life, as much as I want to be like, man, forget God, he ain't doing it for me, he's with me. Even when I'm struggling, even when I don't understand why I'm going through whatever I'm going through, he's right there. And if you don't get anything from the Bible, you realize you can't run from God. Even if you decide not to read the Bible thoroughly, God will find you in a way where he will talk to you, where he will speak to you. And sometimes it'll be in those moments that you don't really expect. Those moments that feel like, well, why would he talk to me this way? It was because that was the only way he could get to you. And I know for me, like, I used to be a party girl. I know you're probably like, this little sweetheart. And I remember I had an epiphany in college at a party. And I tell people all the time, like, it took me years to recognize that was God talking to me. That I wasn't hearing him in any other way because I was distracted by partying, by doing things that, maybe I shouldn't have been doing, maybe I should have been doing, but just doing it in moderation. And God had to speak to me and say, hey, hi, how you doing? Hey, how y'all doing? And I joined the gospel choir, Ebony Impact Gospel Choir at ODU, and to this day they're my heart. They are a big reason why I decided to choose God, because when you grow up in church as a child, a lot of times you're going because whoever told you to go, whether it's your mama, your grandma, your daddy, whoever. But when you become older, you get to choose God. And I'm glad that I chose God and that I chose to read the Bible. And I hope you do too, babe.